we're going to share the immigrant jersey of some of our employees, starting with mine. But please, do me a favor. I want to hear about your immigrant jersey. So please, put it in the comments below, either in writing or if you want to make a video of it. I want to hear about your journey.
Calificas para ser legal, quieres saber, solo llama al abogado Andres Mejer.
I know that there are many immigrants that have regrets. They've been here 20 some odd years and they could have filed for something. They could have filed for TPS. They could have filed for the Life Act prior to 2001, but they did nothing. Why? Because they never thought they would still be here 20 years later. They didn't imagine that they were going to marry and have kids. They planned on going back. Now their life is completely different from what they had imagined, and they wish they had filed for something when it was easier to do so. Today, immigrants are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. Why? Because they live many people to a house or in an apartment. A lot of my clients live with their parents and their children. 3 generations in one home. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, during the pandemic, my in-laws are here. It was a close call. Almost my parents were here too. So 3 generations were in one home. Believe me, I know how difficult that can be. But we did that to help my in-laws, right? Not because we had no other financial recourse. Now, they live many to a home. Sometimes they rent in a house and they share it with others because they don't have savings and they have no choice but to go to work. Why do they have to go to work? Because they are in jobs that put them in contact with people and put their families at risk. But they need to go to work. They can't afford to stay home, so they have to take that risk. When they get sick, so does everyone around them. Had they gotten legal status all those years ago, they would have had better jobs. They would have made more money, and they were likely living in a better circumstance. They would not be in as much risk today. I believe it's a crime if a potential client hires any other attorney, and I hope they are an attorney, because a lot of them hire non-attorneys, to solve their immigration challenge, because I don't believe anybody else treats them the way we do. You likely won't get the same outcome. And it's for this reason why we don't stop. We keep on calling you. We keep on emailing. We keep on texting, because we know the difference that having legal status makes. We believe we're the best at what we do. We believe nobody else has this USA system. Nobody follows up the way we do. Nobody treats you the way we do. And we believe that you will have the best outcome if you hire us to solve your particular challenge, assuming we accept your case, because we don't accept all cases. We know the difference that legal status makes because we are all, at Andres Mejer Law, immigrants or the children of immigrants. So here's my story, and I'm going to tell you the story of some of my team members. Now, I also want to hear about your story. Please put it in the comments. You can even make a video if that's what you want to do. Now, I've shared bits and pieces of my past. I have never shared it in as much detail as I'm going to now, because you know what? It's painful. And there are periods that, well, I'm not proud of all of it, but it is my past. And it is why I am who I am. So I was born in Santiago, Chile, and I came from the US from Chile when I was 5 years old, just before my 6th birthday. I was left back in the 1st grade because I didn't speak English. I learned English with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Sesame Street. My father had run away from Argentina when he was 15 years old because the military came to his home looking for him. He married my mother, who was from Chile, and they came to the US after Pinochet took over and the country went to shit. Sorry I said that, but it did, it's true. Now, when I was growing up, my parents were separated for many years. I know what it's like to have the police show up at your house in the middle of the night. I know what it's like to have to go to jail to visit your family member as a kid, because I did it. I know what it's like to have the bank take your home away through foreclosure. I also know what it's like to have a landlord evict you from your home. Both of those things happened to me and my family, and all of this happened before I was 18. My family got our green card thanks to President Reagan's amnesty in '86, but my parents went to an attorney who stole their money and over 2 years charged $5,000 and got nothing. So I don't want to hear any client that complains that me charging them $5,000 is too much. Imagine 1986, $5,000, 2 years, and did absolutely nothing. That's what happened to my parents. And because of that, they didn't trust attorneys. So when my father got fed up after 2 years, demanded to see his documents, and in this file was zero. All it was the retaining letter, nothing else. So he went and did the petitions himself. Now, we got our green card, but he didn't trust attorneys after that, except for me now. So when I was in college, my mother decided to reunite with my father and move to Israel. And I decided to go with her. I didn't want to. I just didn't want to separate my family. I was in my second year of college, and my brother had just been admitted to Rutgers with me, and he would have stayed with me. So had I stayed, we would have split the family. I decided that's not a good idea. Families have to stick together. So I went with them to Israel. But we never filed for citizenship. We could have. We qualified. We didn't know. We assumed that we could file outside the U.S., and we were wrong. Today, I have family members that lost their green card because they stayed at the U.S. outside the U.S. for too long, and they were considered to have abandoned their green card. Now, I moved with my brother and my siblings, I'm the eldest of 3, to Israel, not speaking Hebrew. I had to learn. We spent 2 months living on the floor of an empty apartment waiting for our stuff to arrive from the U.S. We had almost no clothes, we had no furniture, all of it was coming from the States. 2 years later, I came back to the U.S. as a green card holder on vacation. I had to come every 11 months and 29 days or I risked abandoning my green card, and I didn't want to do that. I had a military duffel bag of clothes and I had $3 in my pocket, and I stayed. I went back to school since I only needed 3 years to finish my college degree, but I did it in 2. When I came to the U.S., I had an Argentinian girlfriend in Israel. I know, weird, huh? What can I do? I like them. I like Spanish speakers. So in Israel, where they speak Hebrew, I was with an immigrant that spoke Spanish. Go figure. Her parents thought we would marry. My parents did too. So our relationship did not survive the move. See, I was a green card holder. She had no status in the U.S. and I wasn't ready to get married just to give her legal status. I didn't want to do that. So ultimately, we went our separate ways. But at the time, I lived in a rooming house with lots of people I didn't know. I didn't have a car. I didn't even have a TV. I couldn't afford one. My parents couldn't help me. I had to do it alone. I went to Rutgers in New Brunswick. I worked at the Hyatt in New Brunswick. I would ride my bike to work, rain or snow. I'm asthmatic, so the cold does not, believe me, is not good for me. But I didn't have a choice. I had rent to pay and tuition to pay for and no one to help. So if I didn't get my ass out of bed and get to work, it wouldn't happen. I worked 7 days a week for years. I would take classes in the morning and work at night, or I would work at night and take classes in the morning. Sometimes I worked double shifts and I worked through the night because I needed the money. So if somebody called out, that's where I was. Now, I had a full scholarship to Rutgers before I moved to Israel. I didn't have to pay $1. I had a free ride. But I lost that when I moved with my family to Israel. When I came back, I was on my own. There weren't many opportunities in Israel. So when I graduated from college in 2000, I went to law school. It was never my intention to stay in the U.S. But despite that, I got my U.S. citizenship in 1999. As soon as I came back, I filed for citizenship. To be honest, I didn't qualify because I wasn't in the U.S. enough time, but they approved me anyway. I just wanted to get my education and go back to my family. I never envisioned that I would be in the U.S. Years in the future. In law school, I met my wife, Kimberly. We now have 2 wonderful kids, Noemi and Marcelo. Here I am, still in the U.S., 22 years later. Same thing as my immigrant clients. You never know what you never know. I came here for a purpose to learn and then to go back to my country. Or my new country, because I was born in Chile. And here I am 22 years later. So I started Andres Mejer Law in the middle of the last recession. We had bought a foreclosed property and put every dollar we had. It was a small home, but it was cheap, and we renovated it. We did everything that we could. We were so happy. My son, who is now 11, was just born. I was working for a law firm, traveling all over the state. I would leave some days at 6 in the morning, come back 8, 9 o'clock because I had 2-hour drive each way. They fired me. After I purchased a home, after my son was born, in the middle of the recession, they fired me. I decided, you know what? I couldn't work for others anymore. And I had other job offers. I couldn't allow my future or my family's future to depend on someone else. So Andres Mejer Law was born 10 years ago in the middle of the recession. Today, we have educated over 5,500 immigrants about their options. That's how many people I've met one-on-one, or we at Andres Mejer Law, me or my employees have met. In total, I have lived twice in Chile, twice in Israel, and twice in the US. So believe me when I tell you, no matter your immigrant experience, I have personally lived it, good or bad. Now, my story isn't unique at Andres Mejer Law. We are immigrants for immigrants. Before I tell you the story of some of our employees, I also want to hear yours. Please share your story in the comments below. You can write it, you can make a video, whatever works. Now, some of my employees have given me permission to use their names, but you know what? I'm not going to use any of their names. So I will just tell their stories. So, first person, her father's from El Salvador. Her mother is from Ecuador. But she and her brother were born in Peru. And today they're all in the US. 4 countries different. Imagine that. So after she and her brother was born in Peru, they moved to El Salvador. And her father came to the US alone, illegally, like so many of our clients did. When she was 6, her mother brought her and her brother to the US, also illegally. Her younger brother was born in the US 3 years later. All 3 kids today are US citizens. Mother is a green card holder, filing for her citizenship, and dad has TPS. He's now working on becoming a green card holder himself. Another employee. She was born in Spain. She came to the US as a teenager with her family. She still travels back and forth, and her parents still own a house in Spain and spend some of their time there. Another employee born in Puerto Rico. So he's a US citizen, right? He married, had two girls, was divorced, and then was introduced to a woman who was from Brazil, and they had a long distance relationship. They got to know each other. She was in Brazil, and he was here. After his divorce, he went to visit in Brazil, and he stayed. He learned Portuguese. They got married. He filed for her green card. He did it alone, so it took him, he made some mistakes, so it took about 2 years. It took a lot longer than it should have. But sometimes that's what happens when it's the first petition you've ever done. Now, today they're in the United States and they have a daughter. He went to Brazil, learned the language, married his wife, and then brought her here to the US. Does that sound familiar? Now, another employee came to the US as a child with her parents. She's also Brazilian. Her parents became green card holders through an employment-based petition, but it took so long that by the time the parents were approved, she was over 21 and she no longer qualified. So she filed for a student visa, and she got 3 different degrees, all to maintain legal status. She then got work authorization through the H-1B process as a specialty occupation, and an employer then filed for her green card. Today she's a green card holder. So no matter your situation, we have an employee working with Andres Mejer Law who has been where you are today. We have employees from Dominican Republic, from El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, Venezuela, Peru, Chile, Argentina. Everybody who works for me is bilingual. Everyone speaks at least 2 languages. Some speak 3 or 5. We're here to help, and we would love to hear your story. Please share it below. Either write it, message it, text it. It's been a long day, forgive me. Or make a video. We want to hear from you. Thank you for spending your time with me. Until next time.